So you told us that this investment made you a millionaire.
I knew it was going to happen at some point. When I actually hit that number, it was surreal to realize it and to be able to say like, oh, like I can actually say this now.
After 2008, the stock market collapsed like a toy when Andy walks in the room. And thousands of people saw huge losses in their 401ks and retirement funds. This prompted people like Andrew Fichter to learn for themselves how the stock market works and where they should put their money.
In 2008, that company I was at, their stock price, it went from $97 to under $10 per share within like a month.
Welcome to Point of Return, where we learn from regular people, not financial advisors, about the best investment that they ever made. But before we get into things, make sure you subscribe to the Morning Brew YouTube channel, and then also hit that little bell button beneath this video so you're notified every time we drop a new one. Unlike most 401ks, Andrew's was set up in a way where pretty much all of his investments were in his company's stock, which is great news if you're a company like Apple in 2020 and horrible news if you're pretty much any company in 2008. So Andrew took a big hit early in his career, which fortunately was enough time for him to turn things back around. So after doing some research on his own, Andrew learned about index fund investing. An index fund is a mutual fund that follows certain preset rules, so the fund can track the components of a financial market index, or a basket of stocks. The Spider S&P 500 or the Shelton NASDAQ 100 are two popular examples of indexes that dads like to talk about. And if we're talking about accessibility, think of stock picking and index investing as the difference between meeting someone on dating apps or going out to bars. Going to a bar is like stock picking. At bars, you're kind of limited to who is there, and then you got to do all the work like going out, dressing up, finding a friend who's willing to carry you home. It's exhausting. Index investing, though, is a lot like apps. On the apps, you have access to everybody in the city from the comfort of your home with no pants on. They give you low-cost access to a large pool of opportunities the same way index funds give you access to any given market or market sector. And who knows, maybe you go to a bar and meet the love of your life, but you could also leave with nothing. Whereas on apps, you have so many options already, who cares if you go on 1, 3, or even 8 bad dates? Someone I'm sure is out there for you, Dan, even if your skin looks fake. Wow, this is getting kind of personal. All right. Index investing appealed to Andrew because he didn't want to take in the time or risk that comes with trading individual stocks. Instead, his philosophy was growing wealth over time by consistently and aggressively contributing to his index fund. Hey, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. So, index investing is not the sexiest world of finance. So why do you call this the best investment that you've ever made?
My philosophy is building a stable life for myself, not seeking out like get rich quick. Investing in index funds is like by definition the way to do that. And it made so much sense like the more I read about it. And then understanding too that the stock market is volatile, but over time it goes up. So if you just invest consistently in the broader stock market, you will consistently earn money over time. And I basically just kind of consistently done it over the last decade. I think the S&P 500 has returned close to 15% per year on average over the last decade.
So you told us that this investment made you a millionaire. When did you realize that that was gonna happen?
Yeah, so I knew it was going to happen at some point. It exceeded my projections. I was still projecting it to take a little bit longer. And so, yeah, I started investing in 2010, 2011. I think it was like in 2020 when this happened, about 9 or 10 years. When I actually hit that number, it was surreal to realize it and to be able to say like, oh, like I can actually say this now.
And how much did you contribute?
Yeah, as much as I possibly could. So when I discovered index investing, and I really took like a hard look at all the expenses in my life, was really rigorous about cutting expenses that I didn't use or didn't need. Every time I started making more money, or if I got a raise or a promotion, I wouldn't spend any of that money. I would just start investing it. You know, that gap became big enough that my lifestyle expenses were low, and I was able to invest about 50% of my income.
After the 2008 recession, many employees like Andrew, who invested into target date funds sponsored by their employer's retirement plan, learned about the risks of the stock market the hard way. So later, he did a complete 180, putting half of his paycheck into index funds. He allocated that much because of this financial philosophy thing called FIRE, or Financial Independence, Retire Early.
Woohoo! Between 2010 and 2015, it was still kind of a fringe thing. But it was something I was like heavily immersed into, following like the adherence of it, I guess, which is like save as much as you can, kind of shame yourself for every expense you have that's like unnecessary.
And is that what it felt like? Like, did you feel like you were shaming yourself, or?
The whole thing with FIRE investing is being intentional with your money, and understanding like what your long-term goals are. And I think that's good for anyone to do. But I think it can become almost like religious.
So it's important to see what Andrew did with his money here. Andrew used FIRE budgeting as a way to boost his index fund by essentially putting half of his paycheck into a pool of investments that grew with the market, aka dollar cost averaging. The FIRE movement became popular in 2010. At that time it was mostly around personal finance gurus, but now it's grown so popular you'll find it all over the internet. And it sounds simple, right? Save large amounts of money so you can retire at age 30 and then spend the rest of that decade doing whatever people in their 30s do when they're not taking care of children.
Go fish.
Catan? I don't. And also, there's levels to this stuff. Just because somebody adopts the FIRE mentality doesn't always mean that they'll retire early, which is fine. And for all of the FIRE investing that you did, you're still not retired, correct?
Correct. I did take a year off back in 2017 to 2018. I had really been unhappy in my career to that point. Really, like that year off, I picked up some new skills and did some things on my own in that year that really helped put me in the position I'm in today, which is in a job that I'm much happier in. And I think my outlook on work is a lot healthier now, as a result of getting older and then all these things that I've done, putting myself in a good financial position. I do plan to retire at some point in my 50s, just so I can have more time with my son, who's going to be school age at that point, obviously, and going into college and not living a life that's so focused on work.
So what can we learn from Andrew? After his 401k took a beating during the 2008 financial crisis, he really took it upon himself to do his own research about the stock market and figure out what kind of investor he is. As someone who wanted to take a more active role in investing but didn't want to spend the time or Red Bull trading individual stocks, index funds were perfect for him. That path let Andrew find more opportunities to grow his investments gradually over time, which he found was perfect for the life that he wanted. And that's our point of return. Thank you so much for watching this video. Today we talked about index fund investing, but what was the best investment that you ever made? Let us know in the comments, or honestly feel free to reach out to me at toomey@morningbrew.com. Thanks again.